What I have right here is my 2020 M340i. And as you guys can see, she's pretty maxed out. I mean, we have everything you can think of. Laser lights, upgraded brakes, chrome pexes, carbon hood, carbon mirror caps, carbon skirts, lip, diffuser, trunk, I mean, exhaust. I don't know what else to say. This car is pretty much maxed out. And then obviously performance-wise, same thing. We have upgraded intake manifold, direct injection upgrades, Dorch high pressure fuel pump, S58 injectors. We have IDX 1050 injectors with our port injection through the upgraded manifold. We have an upgraded turbo, the DAS 6769. Pretty much everything you could throw at this car other than a built trans and a built motor. But you see, that is why I'm making this video, because I don't know, I just feel like we are at the end. And you're probably wondering, what do I mean by that? What do I mean I'm at the end? Like, you still have a lot of stuff to go. I think I'm at the end for my goals with this car. And I don't think I realized that until after I finally did a full day tuning session and kind of got an idea of the taste of power. I think I learned a lot from that full day of tuning, and it really exposed kind of my ideas of what goals I had for this car originally and kind of where I'm at now. This car has been fantastic. Everything about this car I've loved, from the sound to the way it looks. I mean, come on guys, just take a look at this thing. This is a very, very attractive car, a very attractive BMW. It's stupid reliable. It provides great value for what it is. When I first bought this car, my goals were not anything too crazy. I was just gonna do a downpipe and a tune. I remember the first time I logged into MHD and I was like, oh my God, you can get 500 wheel horsepower from just a flash and a pipe. So that was my goals originally. And I liked the car for what it was. I liked being on a downpipe and tune. And I realized, obviously, downpipe and tune, you know, the car still had some timing issues because obviously it's an OTS map, and I was on a catted downpipe, and I didn't have any ethanol in the car. So once I started adding just a dribble of ethanol, all of that cleared up, no timing, and this car was a blast to drive just in that form. But I think the real issue is, once I started modifying it so much to where I kind of got carried away, I went down the rabbit hole to where I literally wanted to do everything to this car. Not a lot of people upgrade the brakes. Here, I'll even give you a close-up. These gyro discs right here, right? Not a cheap pair of brakes. It's $2,200 for all the rotors. They're two-piece, very high quality, a lot lighter than the OEM ones. We have upgraded EBC yellow stuff pads. It's like a lot of people don't do that on this chassis. Another thing, we have H&R sway bars with upgraded end links. I have front camber plates. I'm on a very aggressive coilover. People don't usually do modifications to cars like this just because that's not usually the goal of why people buy this platform. I mean, don't get me wrong, obviously this car is still performance oriented. Think of another person right now you know that owns either an M340i, even a 340 or M240i, something like that, where they're doing front camber plates, sway bars, brakes, all that stuff. It's like people don't do that on this chassis. And that's the thing. I got carried away. I went down the rabbit hole. I wanted to make this car as maxed out as I could make it. But during that process, I kind of lost myself. And I realized I'm trying to make this car into something it's not. And that's the thing. If I wanted big power, and I wanted to go super fast in a straight line, have a crazy top mount turbo kit, like a 7275, built trans, all that stuff, this platform would probably make sense. Because for what it is, it provides extreme value if you're trying to go for those big horsepower numbers. But the issue is, that's not really my gist. I'm like a 700 to 800 wheel horsepower kind of guy because I like having a daily driver, and daily driving a top mount turbo that's that big is probably the worst experience ever. And trust me, a lot of you guys out there might be like, oh, I don't mind driving, a car top mount that big. I enjoy it. It's like, that's awesome. But for me, it's super boring unless, obviously you're in the power band and it's not spunky, it's not zippy. It just doesn't check the boxes for me. It's like, I want a car that just goes. I like spirited driving. I like taking cars to canyons. I like tracking cars, or I should say I want to get into tracking cars. Never had the opportunity, and you can see that's what I was planning, but I realized it doesn't make that much sense, at least for this chassis. And with this platform, I am trying to make it into that, when in reality, it's very, very hard to get there with something like this, at least from a financial standpoint that makes sense. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, I love this car. This car has been great, but for the goals that I want and what I desire in a vehicle, I just feel like this car doesn't make sense. And that's why I'm making this video. I'm still at a crossroads. This is not an easy decision for me. I put a lot of time, energy, money, emotion into this car, and to even think about maybe going a different direction is bizarre. It's just a weird feeling. So that's why I titled the video the way I titled it, just because I am at a crossroads. And I think the reason I got there was, like I said, my full day of tuning. I realized if I even want to tap into the modifications that I have right now performance-wise, I'd have to build the transmission, which is like another $6,000 at minimum. I'd have to build the motor, just because this turbo 6769 is so torquey down low. I could have a lot of issues with maybe putting a window in the block, especially if I'm trying to get on it, where it's like, dude, I don't want to be driving a car where I can't floor it under 2,500 RPMs or under 4,000 RPMs in a lower gear. That's not fun. Basically, built engine, you're looking at another, I don't know, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. Realistically, it's probably another 15 to 20 grand to complete this car. And that's not even considering axles, drive shafts, all the other random nitty-gritty stuff that you'd have to do in order to get it up to those power levels to where it's actually safe and usable for all those aspects. So financially, those things don't make sense. It does not make sense for my goals. It's like I can get such better chassis out there, such better platforms that already have all the handling performance, already have the aggressive natures to them, to where I can still get very, very big power numbers, but I don't have to do anything over the top. And I think you guys know what I'm talking about. I mean, there's a couple cars I'm looking at right now. Like I said, I haven't made my mind up yet, but I'd say there's a very, very good chance that this probably will be the end. And I feel like those platforms will just provide so much more for what I'm looking for. And financially, I don't feel like I have to be worrying about all these other modifications where all these things can go wrong, all these labor costs for things. You know, it's like just this car, I can barely drive it around without getting a check engine light because of the low pressure fuel pump sensor. It's just, guys, it's a nightmare. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. I mean, I just feel like building this thing out does not make sense. I feel like I cannot reiterate that enough. If my goals are 700 to 800 wheel horsepower and to be on a platform that actually can support it, I think that's the direction I need to head. Fellas, at the end of the day, this is an M Lite. It's not a full level performance car. So there's a lot of things I'm missing out where like I said, I can't make this car into something it's not. It just doesn't make sense. So I'm definitely gonna keep thinking about these things and reflecting and just realizing where I want to go. I don't know, guys. I just feel like this platform right now, I'm at a very tough spot. You know, it's a purgatory. And I wouldn't have gotten there unless I actually did these upgrades and hit that point, which I did, right? It's like I'd had these goals, these aspirations before, and then I get there and it's like, oh, I realized this isn't really for me. And you don't really know those things until you try. So obviously we did it, we tried, and then I realized I'm not even happy. You know, there's so many things about this car that don't make sense. To name one of them, it's like, look at this interior. It's like, fellas, I should be getting in a car that has like carbon fiber everywhere. Steering wheel's carbon fiber. It's like, guys, I don't even get that from this car, but you know what I'm trying to say. It doesn't have that spunk factor. It doesn't have that next level factor. This car is a sleeper. It is very under the radar. It's a phenomenal platform, but it doesn't have that and that's the thing. I want a car that has that and I feel like I'm overstretching it so hard with this car to try to get there, and there's so much better ways to find that destination. So fellas, stay tuned. It's gonna be an interesting one. I haven't made my mind up yet, which I keep saying, but this is no easy video for me. I've absolutely loved this car. I've had this car for 8 months now. This is the first car I ever bought with my own money to tune all this fun stuff to. Definitely has a very, very soft spot in my heart. This is a very sentimental car to me, and I have a very, very strong connection to it. We freaking maxed her out. She looks absolutely gorgeous right now. I don't really know what to say about it. This is a very, very, very nice looking car, and I'm still so fond of it. I think I'm at a place in my car journey and the goals that I'm trying to achieve. I would just be throwing money away on this platform, especially if I'm not going for super, super high horsepower world record builds, where in retrospect, this would be the best platform, or one of the best platforms. If I was going for maximum power, this car would present insane value, and I'd be like, yep, run it up, baby. Let's do that trans, let's do the built engine. We're going to the moon on this. But in my case, those are not my goals. Throughout this journey, I came to that realization, and I think we're finally at a turning point. I know you guys have been supporting me a lot throughout this build and journey, and it's just weird to think that we might not be making content about this car anymore. Just, I don't know. It's just a really, really bizarre is the only word I can think of. Thanks again, guys. Much love. And stay tuned. I guess we'll see what happens. I want to make the right decision. I want to make a calculated decision. Who knows? I mean, Even if I decide to move on from this platform, we might throw it back again in the future. There's probably gonna be so many more parts, so much more innovation that's out there for the B58. I mean, they're just coming out, you know, probably next month with a Goliath fuel pump, all these other injector upgrades. There's still a lot of excitement for this platform, and it might not be the end of our B58 journey. It's just right now, I don't know if it's the engine in the car for us. Until the next one, much love.